I'm Moose Rosenfeld with Network in Action, and I'm joined today with Phillip Hammett with the Fitzpatrick Group. Phillip, how are you?
Doing fantastic today. Thanks for having me, Moose.
I'm glad. Hey, you know what? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, so I've been in Houston since I was 5 years old, originally born in Shreveport, Louisiana. Family moved to Tulsa, and my mom's originally from here, so moved all around Houston, lived in just about every neighborhood since I've been here in the last 23 years. After college, I started, my degree was in marketing, and I went to management position in a big international warehouse, basically. So when I was there, I was the problem solver. I was the guy who they would plug in when people quit or got fired, and I would go have to retrain people, implement new processes, and fix the problem. The problem was that people I trained who quit and got fired would then quit and get fired, and I was training new people. It's kind of that hamster wheel. So eventually I had to step off and take a look at things, and that's how I ended up in financial services. So I went to Northwestern Mutual, where I was for about 3 years, and one day at an NIA golf event, I met a gentleman who said he wanted to give me a call, who worked for a young growing firm, and had the president call me. He taught me so much on the phone in about 20 minutes that I realized there's this whole bigger picture that I wasn't aware of, and I felt like I would be best serving my clients by at least continuing that conversation, and here I am today, about almost a year later.
Unbelievable. With the Fitzpatrick Group.
That's right.
How are your passion for helping others, where does that stem from, and where do you see yourself, in 5 years?
Yeah, those are two fantastic questions, Moose. Thanks for asking. I would say that I'm really, really motivated to help people I come in contact with because I've dealt with a lot of the same issues as most of my clients, right? I know what it's like to feel like I'm paying too much in taxes, to feel like I'm so busy, I'm overworked, I'm not saving enough. And eventually I just decided, how can I take control back over my life, right? And I believe I'm able to do that through teaching people how to make good financial decisions.
And the Fitzpatrick Group, obviously, y'all's approach is a little bit different, but first I want to talk about just all the things that you've ever done. Y'all are, I know that you also specialize in long-term care disability,
Right.
and you and I have had this conversation before about your ideal target market, and before we get to that, tell us a little bit about the strategies that the Fitzpatrick Group has and how it benefits your clients, your customers.
Sure. So I'll give you just a little bit of a backstory on how the Fitzpatrick Group came to be. Mr. Fitzpatrick was a guy who ran offices for a couple different big companies across the U.S., well-known financial advisory firms, and at some point after a few years he decided, it's not that these places are doing things the wrong way, but he started seeing common denominators, just kind of how the industry has their common practices, and wanted to do things differently. Felt like through really educating clients about how money works, giving them information they need to make their own decisions, that it would be much better serving them, right? So the Fitzpatrick Group focuses on how do we get to keep more of the money that we make, right? So educating folks what works for your situation using custom blends of long-term care, disability insurance, life insurance that all ties in with retirement planning, disability, college planning on the savings and investment side, right? So really arming them with the information they need to make their own call, because last thing we want to do is act like a boss, right? I tell all my clients, you're the boss of your money, you made it. I just want to be an ally on your team. I don't necessarily want to be your coach, even though my role kind of is like a coach,
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer that?
Yeah, it does. So you and I had a previous discussion about, your ideal clientele, your target market, and who would you say that would be?
Well, it's definitely true. We all like working with people like ourselves, right? So I love working with young, hungry professionals. I like working with salespeople. Salespeople definitely fall into the category of being very busy, driving all around town for sales appointments, but not having the time or feeling overwhelmed for the amount of information you need to sit down and have a discussion like this on their own. Sometimes they need some impetus. Right? So young sales folks, 1099 people who don't have benefits at work, who don't know what they're going to make next month, that kind of makes it tough to say, I'm going to save this much. So I've been in those shoes myself. I love working with real estate professionals. My mom has 40 plus years of real estate experience, also primarily a 1099 industry, but I have a very unique and interesting concept for brokers, developers, and builders that allows them to self-finance their deals without either using cash or renting someone else's money. And so far it seems to be working really well.
That's awesome. I was just in Shreveport. I lived there for many years when I was in radio.
Right.
And I went back this past weekend for a service for my former radio boss. And it was good to see Shreveport. I'm glad to be back in Houston. And, you know, long-term care, the older you get, obviously, the more that is going to cost. And so while a younger person may not think that they need it, probably the best time to buy it is when you don't need it, when the rates are a lot more affordable, because you never know what's going to happen in life. You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're not really protected or prepared, you know, financially, you know, if you had a hiccup in life, like whatever it might be, if you're not prepared for it, you know, then it can really cost you a heck of a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And so I'm sure that you sit there and analyze what they've got, whether it's right or not. Is your policies, your insurance policies, indicative of what's going on in the market? Because there is such fluctuation.
Sure.
You know, somebody cannot report great earnings and it sends the market, you know, the tariffs and all the different stuff out there right now that affects the markets. You know, is that indicative of, you know, the type policies that you put your folks with?
Sure. So whenever we're meeting for the first time, we have a pretty in-depth conversation, not just about finances, but, you know, about everything going on in life, professionally, personally, with the family, right? So we want to really understand what a situation looks like and what that person or those people want to see happen with their life. And then the next time we meet, come back with solutions. So the first time that we talk, a lot of times we end up uncovering different things that may not even be a service that I provide, but I want to make sure to be the man. I want to connect them to whatever professional they feel will add value in their life. So in terms of the long-term care, you're absolutely right that there's so much uncertainty out there that insurance premiums and cost of care and all that is going up so fast. What we want to do is help them prioritize their objectives in order of short, medium, and long term, and go chronologically, address short-term needs first, you know, things that are going on here in the next year or so. Medium term, if we want to buy a house, if we're planning to get married or have new kids, you know, 5-year range or less. And after that, once those bases are covered, then start really planning for the long term, right? But one thing I do see a lot of times is that people tend to skip some of those steps. For instance, saving into a 401k, skipping medium-term needs, skipping short-term, that's long-term money. And then we see, oh gosh, you know what? I don't have any other savings. I'm going to go into my retirement account and take out and pay an extra penalty. That's because they skipped the sequence of order. So just making sure that we're never backtracking, right? So that long-term care question is something that tends to be more long-term, but if somebody does a great job, if we catch them when they're young, then absolutely long-term care planning can be something that's done in the near term.
I know it can be. I'm 66, and I know that if the rates at young and insurance in general, you know, the earlier you get in on it, you know, obviously the less that you pay on a you know, annual basis, monthly, and you can really just say, I'm budgeting X amount of dollars for a policy that I know is going to help me immensely down the road.
Sure.
Who are some of your most you know, recent custom clients, I'm going to call them?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. So I'll give you a couple of them. My newest client as of yesterday was a gentleman who has kind of been a friend of a friend for a little while. He and I are acquaintances, but he actually was in the process of meeting with another company and touched base with his mentor, who's one of my friends, who directed him to me and said, hey, just get a second opinion. You know, and within 10 minutes of sitting down together, he said, I'm so glad that I met with you, because it's not that the other company had done a bad job explaining things, but I felt like there was something lacking, right? Maybe they didn't fully understand or ask the right questions. but he felt like it was just okay. And within 10 minutes, he said, I absolutely love what you're telling me. I've learned so much. And less than 2 weeks later, he's a new client.
Good for you.
Thank you.
And then you said another one?
Yeah, my other one is, it's the first time I've done this, but the lady who cuts my hair, she and I have had conversations for a couple months about some of the things I do, and we got to talking one day, and she said, you know, Philip, I'm a hairdresser. I talk to people all day long, right? I've talked to so many financial advisors and so many insurance people, but I've never heard exactly what you just told me while I was cutting your hair for 15 minutes explained that way. I'm interested in talking more. And over the last couple times she had cut my hair, when we talked about that, she said jokingly, oh, you know, I don't make much money. I don't think I'd be a good fit for you. And it turns out she doesn't make a whole lot of money, but she is a fantastic saver. So I'm able to really help her get where she wants to go. And her last message to me was, thank you for helping me with my future.
Gotta love that. So you and I met, you were a referral, and you have become part of Network in Action, my Memorial Park group. What has that done for you?
Oh gosh, that's a question that, you know, I haven't been asked before. Let me think how to best express that. It's definitely been a benefit to me. It's not something where you go in there and pitch your services and, you know, try and get some clients there right away. But I definitely feel like my network has been very much strengthened by those relationships. And now that I've been in Network in Action for almost a year, I would consider some of those folks to be my friends, right? Gosh, the job I have right now came from our last year's golf event, so that certainly changed my life, right? My business coach is a member of our group. So, you know, a lot of different people have made positive impacts for me. Several are my clients. Several of them I've sent business to, so it's almost like a business family.
I have a friend that says if you're not networking, you're really not working. And
that wasn't you, was it? You said that?
I just think that you bring great value to the group, and I have become a client. My wife has become a client of the Fitzpatrick Group.
Sure.
And you know, it really is a fresh set of eyeballs looking at, you know, where you are financially and offering some solutions that I think we all need. And I'm really thrilled to have you as not only a Network in Action member, but also a friend. And I wish you all the best. I know it's going to be a great 2019, and you know, as the market, you know, fluctuates, it's up, it's down. You guys really don't worry about that, because you don't worry about tweets, and you don't worry about, you don't worry about stuff that you don't have control of. So, Philip, thank you very much for your time today. I highly encourage y'all to reach out to Philip. How do they get a hold of you?
Well, guys, you can feel free to text or call me at my cell phone number, which is 832-466-6036, or you can shoot me an email at phammett, Hammett, at Fitzgroup, FITZGRP.com.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much, Philip.
Thanks, Vince.
Great job.
See you soon.
Appreciate that.
All right.